Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Heather, and I'm here with Matt today. Matt is an expert in men's sexual health issues, and he's quoted over 1.5 million websites on Google. He's also been featured in Cosmo magazine as well as ABC News, and the message is getting out like crazy. In fact, he's helped over 20,000 people in the last 12 months uh, with their sexual issues and their performance issues, and he's helped them gain real stamina and fantastic sexual performance again. So here's Matt.
Oh, hey, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Good. How are you doing, Heather?
Fantastic.
Good. Excellent. Well, we have a lot to cover, and we're going to have a very, very unusual, very exciting web workshop here. And interestingly enough, before we really get into things, I want to show you something that we did. We had a bunch of people that answered the questions when they registered. I'm just going to call it up because I think it's really, really interesting, and you can kind of see what we got there because I think it was pretty interesting, all the questions that were answered. And there, you should be able to see it now. So we had a lot of guys that said, what was most important, and we sorted these out: sexually satisfying a woman, ways to get hard and stay hard, how to give a girl 2 or 3 orgasms, how to last 30 minutes or longer with feeling. It kind of surprised me, as we went through all these. Oh yeah, how to give a girl 2 or 3 orgasms, all these things, how to get her solidly faithful to you. So we asked all these questions. And we had a lot of people respond. So what we found was kind of interesting, Heather. We were talking about it offline earlier today, and
Totally interesting.
yeah, and I didn't get a chance to put it into a slide. I just put but getting hard and staying hard was 62%, and the rest of the people last 30 minutes or longer was like the most important thing. So we're going to focus just on that because you said you wanted to hear that. And we have a lot of news. We've got a lot of things that have happened in the past year that have really, really improved things for guys that are, and we're going to tell you what those improvements are. And by the end of the
Right.
training, the goal here is for you to know how to have raging sexual confidence that radiates its presence to you to any girl a mile away. That's the goal. So you're going to be in that situation. And I want you to focus now. And before we get into this, what we're going to hear, I want to just make sure that we can be heard. And can you, on your right hand panel, if you're on live, you'll see a GoToWebinar panel with questions, and I want you to type your answer in there. Can you hear me and Heather okay? If you can hear us okay, just type yes. Or just you can hear well. Just type yes. Thank you. Michael, Lewis, um, Michael again, another Michael,
Popular name.
Tim, Chad, Rich. Okay, too many to mention. Thank you so much. All right. We could thank you. Now, perfect, perfect, perfect. John, Jerome, Marty, Jamie, another Michael. So perfect. Now that you've gotten your feet wet, I want to encourage you to ask questions there because Heather's going to be watching there and we can answer some of your questions. We won't get to a lot of them, but we'll try to answer as many as we can. And we may probably answer them towards the end of the presentation, uh, but we will answer them. So please make sure you type your questions in there and your comments. So we're going to show you
Hmm.
how you could feel exquisite sensation. This was in the registration information when you registered. I said I'd lay it all out for you and why you shouldn't have to give up self-pleasuring either. How you can become super attractive to girls. And when you do that, you're going to find girls signal you that the life is actually different from what everyone thinks. They think the man is the aggressor. Maybe the man is the aggressor, but the woman is the one that responds by signaling her interest first. And so
Right.
when you're tuned in, right, Heather? So when you're tuned into this
Absolutely.
and you've got this attraction, this sexual confidence, girls see it a mile away. They even smell it. We'll tell you how that works and work at your advantage. Put off invisible signals. How can you get your wife or girlfriend out of a rut? So many of you have said it's just boring at this point. My girlfriend and I, we don't do very much together. It's just flat. What can we do? Such a big issue. And how can you get your equipment working again? That's what we're going to be talking about. How you can get hard, stay hard, and be totally confident, never worry about that again. So that's
Right. What about the guys who have like, does this work for guys who have a range of issues or
yeah,
like a range of,
issues. Yeah.
works for the guys who may be having problems getting hard like some of the time or maybe having problems getting hard all the time. It'll work for either type of guy, right?
Yeah, it'll be someone who hasn't had hard in years or someone who just has a little bit of an issue sometimes. And a lot of guys are on high blood pressure medications. Sex and I'm going to use Troy as an example. He's a composite student. So he is on high blood pressure medications. And he says sex was crappy when it happened. It was crappy, and he didn't have enough of it. It reminds me of that. I don't know. There's an old joke, right? The food is lousy, and they don't give you enough of it.
Right.
So, and so Troy said the big thing was lack of feeling when either with partner sex, or masturbation. He didn't feel that much. And a lot of men don't think about this. But then when we talk about it, they go, oh, yeah, now that you mention it, I didn't think about this. I don't have the same feeling that I did before. I don't feel the same sensation in my penis. It doesn't feel the same. Even when I have an orgasm, it's not really as good. Like Troy says, my erections aren't as hard as they used to be. Sometimes I can't get it up at all. Other times I just grind away forever, and even then I can't come. So a lot of men are telling me I can't come most of the time, or I have to rub one out afterwards because I just really can't come when I'm inside her, and they feel like it's just what's wrong with me. And then they start realizing it's not the feeling that I once had. There's a loss of sensation that just I didn't think about. So we asked guys, there's a lot of guys to take this challenge before this web training, and a lot of guys did. I don't know if any of you will respond. If you did, some of the guys, I said, okay, so how ejaculate, whether you do it by masturbation or with partner sex, like 3 times if you can in 2 days, and then some days without it, and see the difference. See the difference. And I know a lot of people said they were going to try it. I don't know if people did, but the thing that you find is that your perceptions of girls and of sex and everything changes drastically. And the perception changes are so real, they're so huge, and these perception changes are really what it's all about. With when you start realizing it, you start tuning in on this, and that's when things can really start improving. Just that awareness really improves
Huge
it.
improvements. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say to summarize, like we're talking about Troy here, sometimes as well, pretty much universally, as guys get older, when they ejaculate, they lose some energy. And I thought that was a weird concept. Look, it's a small volume of fluid that comes out of your body. What's the big deal? But there's a lot of big deals about it. Apparently, nature designed us this way. As we're really young, we can ejaculate 3, 5. I've had someone say 20 times in a day, which I find hard to believe. But without without long-term ramifications. But when you're older, it starts taking more out of you. And when you do that, you realize your gym workouts aren't as good. Your perception of your girlfriend, your wife, falls way, way down. She just doesn't. You see her zits, and she doesn't look as pretty to you. And everything is different. Actually, it's huge difference in perceptions. And I wanted you to see that. So I'm hoping you take that little test on your own because you're going to find it most
All right.
interesting.
Matt, this is the test that you emailed, what, 4 or 5 days ago out
Right.
to our.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm not going to ask guys if they tried it. It was really for you all who are there. You'll get a lot out of it. So try it if you haven't. So Troy here is saying I can't get it up at all sometimes, and sometimes I just I grind away forever, and that's common with a lot of guys. Now, if you ejaculate less and you have more sex, a lot more sex with less ejaculation, you find that there's a lot. Well, it's much easier to come really, and this kind of can go away to a great extent. So it's just one of those perception issues where brain chemistry and everything are involved. We're going to give you some amazing tricks for all this. So Troy said, I started your program, and it was hard. Even if at first my dick wasn't. What did he mean by that? I think he meant
He meant even if his dick wasn't hard at first. The
at first.
program
There
was.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the program was hard. His dick wasn't hard. Got it. Thank you. You said the problem is desensitization, and I didn't believe you. Nobody believes this. They don't believe it because they go to the doctor and it's all a medical problem. And I'm not saying it's not a medical problem. I'm saying that there's a lot of hard science, and the big pharma companies, the U.S. government funded research, found this all out and figured it out. None of this stuff I came up with on my own. It's all there for you, and the problem is already figured out that it's desensitization.
Right.
And I will tell you what that means, but Troy's saying I didn't believe you. So the program had me stop masturbation and watching porn, not forever, but for an induction period. People remember that phrase if you've ever been on the Atkins diet. You had an induction period where you have to be very strict. And it's not the whole time, it's just the very beginning. So with our program, you did have to stop masturbation and watching porn. And I don't believe that you'll ever, if porn is an issue for you, we'll talk more about porn, but then you probably are never going to go back to porn. You're really smart not to. You'll find it's just a problem for you. But masturbation is fine. But at the very beginning, you have to stop. It's the only way to reset the brain and get the desensitization fixed. And Troy said I almost immediately felt a lot different. Horny for a few days, then completely lost interest. So this is quite common when people stop having orgasms for a while. There's a period of time. Let's say this is day one, and let's say this is day, I don't know, day 10, where they're really horny, and then they stop being horny and they like aren't horny at all. Maybe day 4, 5, or 6, something around there, and that's called flatlining. And that's
Hmm.
basically a natural thing. You just lose all interest. Not only do you lose interest, but sometimes it even, God, I hesitate to say it this way, but it feels like your cock is not, useful for anything except to pee, and it doesn't. You don't care about sex at all. Hard to believe, but absolutely true. You totally don't care. It's like a total loss of libido. Very common, very normal. It's a normal thing, and it's normal because the brain is responding to the lack of stimulation, and in the process of becoming more sensitive, you have to give up that stimulation for a short while. And when you
Right.
do, your brain feels this flat period, or literally flat. If you've ever quit drinking or quit smoking pot, or maybe cigarettes, I don't know, but I know drinking and smoking pot because I personally have quit those two things. You feel that same flatness. The world looks gray for a while.
Right. Because I remember we talking a little bit earlier this week about how sex is even more powerful than cocaine.
Yes, yeah. So the cocaine triggers what the psychologists and the neuroscientists call the reward circuitry in the brain. And that's why we do things that we do, because we are rewarded. We feel good. We get these reward chemicals in our brain. And sex is the most powerful generator of these reward chemicals. That's very important to understand because it really shows you why this desensitization thing is such a big deal. So Troy said the program gave me and my girlfriend other things to do, and neither of us missed sex for the moment. I gave Troy some exercises that I'm going to tell you about, and he was able to do some of those with his partner. And he said when I went out with girls, girls were eyeing me and giving me flirty signals. Were these always happening, and now I was just more conscious of it, or were they just new? I don't know the answer to that. You've kind of observed what happens with a lot of guys. Do you think that they didn't pick up on the signals, or that they're transmitting more signals now that they're sexier?
Gosh, I think it's partially both. We get this kind of story all the time. Guys write in all the time and tell us that this is what's happening, and I think it's partially both. Don't you, Matt? We're partially they feel partially they're more aware because their brain's more sensitive to the signals that women are putting out, and then partially I think they're just producing different hormones, and so they're more attractive.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think they're picking up the signals and maybe they're generating the signals that girls pick up on and respond to.
Right.
I think that's true too. So, but it's like everybody says this. Everybody, no matter, and it doesn't matter if you're married, it doesn't matter if you're incredibly happily married, it doesn't matter if you're single. You're gonna find that girls get really flirty with you, and you're just gonna like be astonished. I've had so many men have said they tell me a story. I just was at they'll say I was at the supermarket and this girl just starts talking to me, or I was at the bar. Just they always have these stories like all the time. So that's what's going to happen. And then Troy said, after a while, things came back just as you said they would, but quite different than ever before. And his experience is normal at this point. My penis became more sensitive than I remember ever. and I haven't experienced orgasms like this maybe ever. And so let's talk about that. That's the big thing. We start getting really good performance, hard-ons, really long time, no concern about erections anymore, and the sensitivity, the pleasure, the orgasms tend to be incredibly intense and so much better. And you go, wow, I haven't felt that way since I was like, a teenager or whatever. Like, it's amazing. That is normal because that's the sensitivity that you actually have, but it got kind of like desensitized, totally desensitized. And so the desensitization starts with a less feeling, and then performance goes down, and then eventually, if you don't do anything about it, you end up not even be able to get hard at all. You don't have morning wood. This is not a good sign. You don't have erections. You don't get spontaneous erections. You don't get erections with stimulation. Sometimes you get erections watching porn if you watch porn or fantasy, but then even that starts not working very well. But you reverse it, you fix the desensitization, and it all comes back. And it's like nothing has ever been before. And he said also, he says, we're
See,
both kinder to each other. Interesting, isn't it?
it's a weird side effect, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah, there's a lot of neurological reasons for this. So we're designed to be very kind to our partner under certain situations because it's good for our genetics and our survival or whatever. But all I know is that this is a very, very common. Your perceptions of girls change. If you're living with a woman, your perception of her changes radically for the better, and her perception of you changes radically for the better. So this increased sensitivity really, really brings love back, and it's a whole new ball game. Even if your relationship has been stagnant, stale, or on the rocks, it comes back.
Right. What about for the guys who are single?
Yeah, well, you got to be careful if you're single because you want to make sure that you're being very selective as to who you go to bed with and who you spend time with because when you're really sensitive like this, it's not you could screw a lot of girls really easily. You're very attractive, they're attracted to you, and you might want to be careful because you could also sort of easily get kind of fall for somebody, and you want to make sure that you're compatible before you go too far with somebody. But we have single guys they bet a lot of girls this way, and they're very happy about it because the girls have never had a man like that, the kind of power and the ability to last 30 or 60 minutes. She can have orgasm after orgasm, and it's like women have never had a man like that. And a lot of
Right.
men will go through their life, they're not monogamous and they don't want to be, and they end up having a tremendous group of these, fuck buddies, friends that with benefits, whatever you want to call it, girls that they have a good time with. They all know the basis of the relationship, and then these girls will sometimes end up, you know, they'll end up as friends, but then they'll get married or meet somebody and they'll become monogamous with, but they'll still be friends. So we have men that are like that, and that's perfectly fine. I'd say that's probably 20% of the men, maybe. I don't know what the number is.
Hmm.
Most men are really monogamous, and want to be monogamous. So this is a great benefit if you're single and looking for somebody to, you'll find that it's just a great selection now, and problem of performance and all that is gone, and you have this incredible confidence just brings women to you like never before. So it's a fantastic thing if you're single. Fantastic. I learned some of this originally from a guy who's really old now, but he had his whole life just had so many women, and would get married. He got married a few times, but he really preferred to be single, and he was able to become friends with somebody. He's a great guy, and so he just found this useful. And they would have sex for hours. You meet these girls have sex for hours, which I understand it now because when you have the sensitivity and this, that's what can happen to you, and you could put off your ejaculation as long as you want without even having any feeling of control or not trying to hold it back. It's really nice, and
Right.
that's all with the sensitivity. So Troy is saying we spent all Sunday afternoon in bed this past weekend, and that's really nice. It's this renewed interest in sex and each other's bodies. But when it's built this way, when you've got your sensitivity back, it doesn't go away. It doesn't, become boring. It doesn't. Kind of an odd thing, but that's how we're built. So frequent, lots of sex, That will happen to you when you get your sensitivity back. That's what happened to Troy. Very, very common story. And I think he, as a composite student, typical of somebody who may have been in a relationship for 15, 20, 30 years. And now it's like they just met, except they know each other and they don't have any of those issues of someone meeting, but the spark, the sexual flirtiness, and the incredible time they have in bed is back, and it just doesn't go away. I know it's hard to believe, but it's absolutely true.
Right. The playfulness in the relationship comes back.
Yes, yes, the flirtiness, the playfulness, exactly. So these kind of comments, I easily last 30 minutes or 60 minutes now. No more ED. I have renewed sensitivity. Girls are super attracted to me now everywhere. Weird as I'm not particularly great looking and I don't have a lot of money. You don't need money. You know, guys who think they need money are using that as an excuse. Get your sensitivity back. You'll get your raging sexual confidence, which is what a real man actually has underneath. It's what you have underneath. And it'll start radiating to women. And that's what they want. I feel a sense of love that makes every day with her special, these kinds of things. But how do you get this raging sexual confidence and this super sensitivity? So let's talk about what fixes the cause of erection problems forever. And I want to welcome you to this world where couples will have sex for 30 minutes or an hour with feelings and sensitivity they haven't experienced since being teenagers. And the counter to that is you're not alone. What you're going through in any way. If you occasionally need help, or else if you're not getting hard at all, or it's a problem sometimes, or you're not sure. 40% of guys over 40 have occasional persistent problems getting or keeping their erection. 60% of guys over 60. Very, very common. And I hate to say it, but by the time you get into your 60s, a lot of guys just given up. And I hate to say that because there's absolutely the wrong thing to do. I can't imagine that. And we have guys in their 20s on this call who are really upset. And they know they're not giving up, but they don't know what to do. Well, this is what you're going to do. So that's the world where you could be, but that's the problem. It's just all this stuff. And here's what happened. You see, it's not like it's your fault. This is like it's still something that I'm realizing more and more all the time. But the scale of this thing, the drug companies discovered the secret to fixing ED. It was not pills, and then accidentally they discovered Viagra. Accidentally. And at that point, basically, all the research on curing ED was shut down.
This has got to be like it's so crazy. Just
Yeah.
so crazy.
Well, the same thing is happening in diabetes research. If it's not about a pill, they don't want to study it. If it's not about a pill for anything, they don't want to do it. And these pills are horrible. I don't mean ED pills. They're not that horrible. I mean, they work for a lot of guys. They do work for, in some ways they work for 60% of guys. They're not horrible, but there's a lot of pills that are really horrible that guys are taking. That's another call. So I'm going to show this to you. There's like study after study showing that men with ED have lower sensitivity. The findings argue about that. Decreased sensibility of the penis may be the sole factor responsible for inability to sustain an erection. There is study after study after study after study. There's a lot of science about this. The brain is not registering the feelings from the penis. There's this chemical and nerve communication that's not taking place correctly. And I think of it like a radio that's not tuned in with each other. Like the brain is the receiver and the penis is a transmitter, and they're not in tune. Sex and fantasy create chemicals in the brain. They're supposed to. They create chemicals in the brain that reward us, like we said about cocaine. But these reward us more than any drug, even heroin or cocaine or whatever. The trouble is that if you take porn, bad masturbation habits, you take that and fantasy, it can be kind of over the top kind of, and it'll act exactly like a powerful drug in the brain. And the brain builds a tolerance to those things, and now requires greater stimulation to get the same reward. That's what desensitization is all about. We all can relate to needing more,
Coffee.
good one. If you've done recreational drugs, there's a lot of recreational drugs that work this way. It's a familiar story. It's all about sexual stimulation, and sexual stimulation is fantastic. The trouble is, there's this overstimulation. I don't mean it's too much. I mean that it's the wrong kind, and the brain gets desensitized, and that is what causes all these problems. So rather than work on just like, okay, here's a solution. Here we are, kind of the lone voice in the wilderness, which we shouldn't be. Everybody should be talking about this, what we're talking about right now. You could just see like you paid for it. Stimulus dollars fund studies into sexual history and erectile dysfunction. The government funds $300 million a year in ED pills research on behalf of the drug companies. What I calculated, it's hard to find these numbers. Hundreds of millions of dollars are going into this. Hundreds of millions of dollars because it's so profitable. So there's nothing in there for anyone to tell you about the solution, about what's really causing it, and all the studies that were done. But imagine you last as long as you want and never worry about your erections again because you fixed the source of the problem. And what if you used even more pleasurable activities that reverse desensitization and gave you raging sexual confidence? More pleasurable activities, more pleasurable than porn or bad masturbation habits or fantasy, more pleasurable than that. So the truth is, this is the crux of what I want to tell you right now. Ordinary masturbation over time can reduce your sensitivity. Not normally it's not a big deal, but we're in a world now where there's a lot of what they call super stimulators like porn and all kinds of sexual triggers everywhere. Many guys use a death grip and on their willy and and also fantasy and sometimes porn, and these can reduce the sensitivity of the penis and the brain. Then the desensitized guy will not feel as much when he has sex. Erections get a little bit softer, sex gets a little bit harder. He uses fantasy to get off sometimes, to finish. And if he keeps jerking it using more fantasy and porn, if he uses porn, he'll keep losing more sensitivity. Now, some guys can go into ripe old age and it's okay, but it's not really great, but it's okay. But a lot of other guys, especially now because of technology, it's like we can eat pure sugar if we want to. In the old days, you couldn't get sugar. Now we can get this super stimulus, and then you throw in medications and health issues. Sensitivity of the guy even falls further. These kinds of things like diabetes, high blood pressure, weight problems, lack of overall fitness, they all contribute to the desensitization, right? They all contribute.
Right.
And I want to
Right.
emphasize something, okay? This is not a psychological thing where it's all in your head. It's not. If you were to have your brain scanned, there is science about this. Your brain will show real physiological differences, especially in the frontal lobe. It's not all in your head, meaning like, oh, it's just something in your mind. It's not. It's a real physiological fact. So it has to be handled that way. And so desensitization can be fixed. And I think it's a little bit like, let's say your muscles are weak, so you start lifting weights and working out. It's like that. You can do these activities at home. You don't do certain activities, but you do other activities, and this fixes the desensitization. It sort of gets the brain sensitive again to regular stimulus, and that's where you get into this whole new world of sexual confidence. It's amazing. Well, I think she is hot, actually, I have to say. We've proven,
So,
as a side note, we've proven this. We've proven this with helping over 11,000 men who've got our programs, participated online. But there's one problem with this method that we've been working with guys for like the past year. The problem is, I'm going to tell you about that in a second. And I will tell you that in the interest of full disclosure. It's not like it's one little issue with it about this cure, if you will. And I'm not supposed to say cure, but it kind of is. But I want to answer a question that might be coming up in your mind. Why haven't you heard of these exercises already? The reason, of course, is there's the porn industry, the drug companies, the government. They don't want you to have raging sexual confidence. They really don't. They don't. They want. And why is that?
well, they make you follow the money trail. They make a lot of money.
Yeah, they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. The porn business is a huge business. It's a $50 billion industry worldwide, at least. The drug companies, just $5 billion on just the ED meds alone a year. And we could just go on and on. The government doesn't want you to do it either. They want guys who are like, kind of like women in a way. They want guys that are, easily pliable and controllable. They don't want guys that can stand up for themselves and have confidence because they want you to fall in total line. All right.
So,
So
so Matt, I have a common question coming in. Tim, looks like Tony, a couple other guys. They want to know how they know if the desensitization is what's causing the problem.
so
Will you be
here,
going into that?
yeah. So here, let's talk about that. So there's a couple of sure signs of what it is. Okay. So first of all, are you getting morning wood? Are you getting morning or nocturnal erections? You should be waking up with an erection every day. I mean, if not one, you might miss a day now and then, but rarely. Should definitely, and that when a man becomes more desensitized, eventually he stops waking up with an erection. So that is a very sure sign of desensitization. Another one is going to be difficulty having an orgasm without fantasy. I know that's a weird one, huh?
It is a weird one because I would say that, it's a lot of people probably have maybe never had an orgasm without fantasy, or at least not since they were 13 years old.
And these are boys and girls. Girls who masturbate,
Right.
same thing. Same thing.
I
Uh,
agree. Hmm.
yeah. So, but a man should be able to have an orgasm without fantasy, and a lot of times this becomes so bad that he's in bed with a woman and he can't come with her, but he could come with porn, or he could come with a favorite fantasy of a porn star or some other fantasy. So if that is the case, if you need that, that is a sign. Third sign is difficulty having an erection or keeping an erection.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you can't have an erection easily, you need a lot of stimulus. You need her to, or yourself, you need a hand there, really, or a mouth there, and even that, and you need to work and work at it. You need to keep working at it. That is a sign of desensitization. That's the biggest sign that'll hit people the most. Because at the beginning, this is, feeling a little less pleasure, a little bit takes a little longer to come, but then after a while that gets worse and worse. Then the erections get softer, and then they become non-existent, or they're really difficult to get one, and then they go away really easily. Fourth one is going to surprise you, big surprise on this one, and that is premature ejaculation is actually a sign of desensitivity. Now, that's going to surprise people a lot, but there are two kinds of premature ejaculation. The first kind we don't even see anymore. The first kind would be a man who's never been with a woman and has, basically sees a pussy and gets his penis there close in it, and he's excited and he blows his load. Maybe we were that way when we when we were starting out. Maybe, but that's a different kind of premature ejaculation. That's kind of immature premature ejaculation, just inexperience. But the premature ejaculation here is really interesting because you get a guy that has desensitization. He may take forever to come, and then he'll get premature ejaculation. So you'd think that they are nothing related, right? But they're actually from the same cause.
That's crazy. So, like, two separate events.
They're actually exactly the same cause, exactly the same issue of that the communication between the brain and the penis, the brain's losing its sensitivity to the signals in the penis, like a radio receiver and transmitter not being tuned together. So those are the signs right there. Those are the most common signs, and the what goes along with that, and this is just a general observation, and it's boredom. It's just boring. Sex is boring with this person. I can't get excited about her. I can't get excited about that. And the reason that this is a key is that the desensitization results in many times, not always, an escalation of the fantasies that we need to get off. And vanilla sex with our wife or our girlfriend is not exciting enough. It's boring. That's
Mm.
desensitization. I guarantee you, when you fix this issue and you get resensitized, when you fix this issue, you're never going to find sex boring. Not in the very least, and not even a moment of it will be boring. None of it will be boring. It could be more different than that. Um, so, did we answer the questions for that? So, let me ask you this: if you're on this call, we got a lot of people on this call. Why don't you? You're anonymous here. Why don't you just type in if you've had some of those, or if you have one of those issues? Just write it out. Just give us an idea. So I'm not going to say your name, or just what do you think? Um, just what are your so I'll give you a moment. I want you to type something out there. Do you have this difficulty? No morning wood. Do you have difficulty having an orgasm? Do you have difficulty? Yeah, a lot of people saying yes, yes, yes. The difficulty
Mm-hmm.
uh, getting hard, staying hard, coming too fast sometimes. Um, yeah, it's interesting. So I'm going to read it. Some partners who are frustrated beyond belief will respond with anger or disdain. The situation is filled with an overload of anxiety, which kills about everything. Would you not agree? I totally agree with that. That's exactly what happens. That's why you go to your urologist and they'll say, it's anxiety. So often, these men they go and they get this misguided, idiotic advice from these idiot, and I mean, I'll say they're idiot urologists because they don't know better. They're ignorant, and they say it's anxiety because of course there's anxiety, big time. And you start thinking that that's the cause of your problem, that it's anxiety, that it's like all in your head. It's not. It's not. The anxiety comes later. The anxiety comes after you have trouble performing. Then of course there's anxiety. That's all fixed. Oh my gosh, we had so many people respond. I can't even tell you. Thank you. I'm glad. I appreciate that because I like to hear from you. Yeah, so sometimes uh, do you find that you have it with masturbation or with partner sex? Where do you have this desensitization more? With masturbation or with partner sex? What's the answer to that?
And kind of even answers on both for that one.
Even answer for both. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Someone says going 2 to 5 hours without fantasy. Yeah, describes my situation without anxiety. Sometimes with masturbation. Is it the woman's fault? She's not responsive or sexy enough. Yeah, it seems that way. It does seem that way. And it kind of is that way, but it isn't. Because when you've got your sensitivity back, women are much more sexually interesting. Even if they're not really adventurous sexually, it's tremendously it's a whole different ballgame. They become much more interesting and more responsive somehow. Weirdly enough, what you do in your mind affects them completely and totally. Partner
It is.
sex, both partner sex. A lot of people say difficulty with partner sex, not so much with masturbation. That is exactly a symptom of that would be my fifth one if I had any room. Masturbation, desensitization hits that at the end. Partner sex goes first, then masturbation. Eventually, guys can't even masturbate. So you want to fix this. You really, really want to fix this. And the pills are not going to fix anything. They're not going to fix a thing.
Right. Now, what about a guy? I had a couple guys ask, what if they don't watch porn? Does the desensitization still affect them?
It's all just it's a part of it that can or can't be there. See, in our world now, there's all the other issues with sex triggers everywhere because it's there's never been a society in the world in history that has so many sex triggers everywhere. Very, very unnatural things. What I mean by that is TV, walk around, look at magazines, look at how everywhere you go there are manipulations, influences from Madison Avenue, from the web, from mass media about sex. So your mind is always being triggered into these sexual areas, these sexual fantasies. And that is a little bit abnormal. And I don't mean it's like wrong of you or me, but when you get your sensitivity back, you have to make an effort to block that fantasy that those triggers create in your brain. Because that fantasy and the reality, your brain can't tell the difference. And so desensitization is actually not necessarily connected just with porn at all. Porn can make it worse, but it's plenty common for guys to be desensitized by all the other things, the triggers, masturbation habits, bad masturbation habits, this progression of sex getting a bit rougher and the fantasies. And so you don't need porn for that, just to be clear. The porn will make it a lot worse or happen a lot faster. Because we have guys, I don't know how many guys are on this call, but we have plenty of guys that are in our program that are in their early 20s because they
Mm-hmm.
got into the high speed internet porn. So they got hit particularly badly, but you don't need porn to get hit by desensitization. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Sadly, yeah. So hopefully that answers that. Let's see where I was here.
There.
Okay, yeah. So these things will make it worse too, because not only is diabetes somewhat desensitizing, but the medications for it are even more desensitizing. I didn't put here anxiety and depression, but these pills like SSRI, um, the SSRI block, the antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, they're very desensitizing. So the problems themselves are, and the solutions from the drug companies are very desensitizing. And basically, they'll really dramatically affect your sensitivity, and not in a good way. So there's not too many things that increase it, but lots of things that bring it down. So with all this, no wonder a guy's dick stops getting hard as it once did, and may go soft at the worst moments. And that's all we were talking about why nobody's heard of this. So with the system we had, you had to stop masturbation, and for a while, and that was the trouble because it's difficult for guys to stop masturbation. And I understand that. It's kind of like if you had to start a diet by fasting for 3 days. A lot of people would have trouble fasting for 3 days, and so guys would say that's just too difficult, and they didn't follow through. And it's not their fault; it just wasn't easy. It's not easy enough. So what I'm going to do is, in a moment, I'm going to tell you how to regain sensitivity with total performance without pills or supplements. And I'm going to tell you how to do that without having to stop masturbation.
Which is far more difficult than it sounds.
Far more difficult than it sounds.
Yeah.
So we'll talk now about that. How to get your sensitivity back. Attract girls like crazy and get and stay hard 30 minutes or longer. So remember, decreased sensitivity may be the sole factor responsible for ED. That's the matter of the desensitization causing the brain not registering the feelings from the penis. The causes are everything from porn, bad masturbation habits, fantasy, all the sexual triggers, medications, health issues. These all act on the brain to desensitize the brain. The brain builds its tolerance and needs greater and greater stimulation to achieve the same reward chemical effect in the brain. And guys who followed our program really fixed their problem. They had performance they haven't had in decades. Pretty much everybody who did it. Norm, I've been following your advice for maybe a month now. My wife is up for intercourse anytime and has taken to seducing me if we go more than a day without having intercourse. I enjoy our sexual relationship and how happy I am with our new love life and her. She's 55, I'm 66. We've been together 29 years. I can't speak for her, but my half of our love life is better than anything I've ever experienced before. That's a very common kind of comment from
Mm-hmm.
guys that had the follow-up program. And
It's awesome.
he's from Minnesota. So he said he felt guilty about that. And he said specifically, the sensitivity level of my penis is higher than it has ever been before. And yes, I get erections too, just thinking about my wife. So that is a very common thing, and that's a normal thing. So my method required guys to stop masturbation, and this proved difficult. But now with the new improvements we've come up with, that we've sort of working with guys, figuring this out, thousands of people later, we found that guys could kind of pleasure themselves and actually increase their sensitivity at the same time. You just have to do things a little differently. So it turns out that the more solo activities, the more sensitivity builds. And the more sensitivity builds, the more pleasure and performance. I'm going to repeat that because I like the way that sounds.
It's the whole thing right there.
The more solo activities you do, the
secret.
more your sensitivity builds. The more your sensitivity builds, the more pleasure and performance builds and builds.
That is the secret.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And here's where it does get a little weird. We also give you partner activities. For some reason, when you become more sensitive again, your girl begins getting much more orgasmic. This is really interesting. So, a lot of times, a woman will have stopped having a lot of orgasms, or maybe she never did have orgasms. Maybe she rarely had them, or maybe she had them one time in 5 times or 10 times having sex. But when you get really sensitive, the girl becomes really orgasmic. It's sort of like she has this space that she can, a friend of mine calls it her, the space you create for her. And she starts exploring that sexual space because the sex up till now has been very focused on your penis and what your penis could do. Your penis gets hard, you have sex, your penis, you come, your penis goes soft, it's over. It's all dictated by your penis. Now you could get hard and you're hard for a long, long time. She can start saying, oh, this is kind of cool. And she has these explorations of her own sexuality that she wasn't even aware was even there. It's amazing. So she becomes really orgasmic. It's pretty universal and lasts for a lot of times years and years and years, no end to it. You begin getting these flirty invitations from women all over the place because girls have a radar, and I want to explain a little bit more about this radar thing. There is a organ in the nose called with this wonderful scientific name, the vomeronasal organ or vomeronasal organ. I think it's
VSO for short.
So that allows the girl not to. Men have this too. She smells you and your testosterone and your hormonal mix, and she wants you. That's how I would put it. It's like really amazing, and she's not aware, and that works.
Women can sense sexual confidence. That's why we read romance novels, because we love it.
Yeah, the guys, I don't know. I've never read a romance novel that I know of, but I see the covers, and they always have these really chesty guys that look really confident. So,
Yep. But you don't have to have muscles like that to portray the confidence. The confidence is something that comes from it comes from the way you build your hormones, and that's all completely controllable, which is awesome.
Yeah, your brain already is designed to be super confident. This raging sexual confidence makes you super attractive to these girls, and it does it without you having to do anything consciously. It's a hormonal thing that takes place in your brain. So you don't have to work at anything. You don't have to have scripts to remember. You don't have to do anything particular. Your brain responds the way it wants to. It's already designed this way with core programming to be this way. And you have the exquisite sensitivity and performance. Just like, the other guys who started out, their dick not working well, poor erections, going soft, come too quickly, don't come at all. And now that's all turned around. And you'll be one of those people that I easily last 30 minutes or 60 minutes. I have renewed sensitivity. Girls are super attracted to me now. I feel a sense of love that makes me every day incredibly precious. That'll be you. Like John from Oregon. Back then I was barely on any female's radar. Now they smile at me on the street or even preen themselves within my vicinity. Being able to pick up little social cues is mind-blowing. Or I was able, another man, I was able to have sex with my girlfriend 3 times last night. The ED has almost cleared itself up. On the 3rd time, my erection wasn't as strong as the first, but that is sort of understandable, what with me having sex twice in a row before. Some of the chemicals that you're going to build up, and when you fix the desensitization, they allow you to have sex more often and be hard for longer. So you have a much lower period of time of recovery after an ejaculation until you can get hard again.
And a little secret, they often give you a bigger erect penis, which is kind of crazy.
You wouldn't want to say that, but it's true. It'll make your penis a little bigger. That's true. That's true. Things do change for the better, I promise. So that's what you've done. You set yourself up to getting your full male sexual power. The things that you've had, the difficulty coming, getting hard, keeping an erection, lack of sensitivity, premature ejaculation, even that cause the same desensitization. We've seen that. We have this system that has been built and rebuilt from working with thousands of guys, especially over the past year. Raging sexual confidence with super sensitivity is what we call it. You could go through this course that we are doing at home in total privacy. You attend using your tablet, PC, or smartphone, and it's done in a series of totally confidential and private web-based video workshops like this one. Just like it. Each step is simple as a recipe, 1, 2, 3, using the latest methods that are proven to work. So this is an example of some of the things that we're going to be revealing in Module 1, how to get her into her pussy tonight, even if it's been a little or big problem lately. So we want to do is give you some immediate help. So we're going to start out by giving you a very easy technique like first aid for your cock. It gives you instant confidence, so that you can make love, fuck, whatever, anytime, anywhere, no matter what. It'll get you out there with girls as soon as tonight. And it'll get you inside your woman, even if you haven't been inside for a while. Absolutely works. Even if you have the worst physical problems or you haven't had a hard on in 10 years, this will get you inside her pussy. Okay. I'm not going to go over all the modules, but I'm going to give you some of the high points, although they're all really high points. Number 4, module 4, proof that raging sexual confidence is just moments or days away. We're going to show you how it works. It's important that you understand that these hormones work at the reptile brain level. They're not conscious. You don't have to be conscious of them. It's automatic. You become confident. And here's an interesting secret. Your confidence has an effect on other men. Not that they want you, but that they will respect you. You will get more respect. You will get more ability to make money. You will get people wanting to do your bidding.
They
That's how
defer
it's
to you.
designed. You're more alpha. What's that?
They defer. Other men will defer to you.
They'll defer to you. That's right.
Uh-huh.
That's it. So we focus on that in module 4 because you really need to understand that so that you'll stick to it. Because if you don't get the theory, if you don't see why it's working, you're not going to stick to it. And I want you to stick to it. Module 6, we're going to show you, are you wanting to conceal this from your partner? Or do you want to reveal what's going on with your partner? So you could do this where your woman or wife, girlfriend, she has no idea that you have any issues at all. And you're going to be back so much. She's just going to be like the new you. But, it doesn't mean you have to talk about it or say anything about it. Or maybe you do want to say something about it. Maybe you want to help her, have her help you. So
it works well either way.
Either way, it works fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any judgments about it one way or the other. So I'll tell you what I call conceal reveal strategies. That's module 6. Module 7, turn a new partner into a terrific fuck buddy and maybe true lover and friend. If you're meeting new girls, you'll want to transition to your raging sexual confidence. So here's how she can help you do it. This allows you to kind of make this transition. So you may have difficulty in certain positions with certain girls or with certain instances, or totally have difficulty right now, or maybe a little bit. This will be the transition so that you will be able to basically be very confident, look her in the eye, go to bed with her, and have a great time. That's what you want to do. Do it again and again and again. That's module 7. Mm-hmm. And what we are going to do is fundamentally we're going to give you these 7 new solo activities that create raging sexual confidence and super sensitivity to make all this real. And you're going to be experiencing great pleasure as you restore super sensitivity and get rid of ED issues forever. And we also give you 3, and I mean, these are amazing, remarkably, really incredibly good partner activities to give you and she a lot to experience. If you have a partner, you can do these partner activities. It doesn't matter, because whether you have a partner or not, you need to do these solo activities. You need to take the masturbation that's been desensitizing you, and instead you're going to be doing these solo activities that are going to be building sensitivity and fixing everything up and creating great pleasure and attraction with other people and all that at the same time. But so the partner activities are optional. If you have a partner, do them. If you don't have a partner, don't do them.
Easy enough.
Yes. We're going to be all working to do this, so it's going to create a new you with permission and space for, if you are married or have a girlfriend, for her to become much more orgasmic and gets you performing and experiencing more than ever before. This is going to be, the publishing company has said they're going to price this at $397. This is not a cheap thing. It's not inexpensive, but I think it's a super offer we have right now. I think it's actually really, really good. It's not $397. They're not asking for $297. We have guys that are spending $70 to $110 a month on Viagra and Cialis and all of that, supplements. Now they're getting hard whenever they want. The cost of this program is less than a month's worth of the pills. In many cases, there's also 2 bonuses that they're letting us offer now. Bonus number 1, I'm putting all this together when we're finishing this workshop. We're going to have notes. I'm going to make my very, very acclaimed notes available, my underground notes, the whole thing, that are assembled for you as a printable PDF ebook at a $67 value. So if you want to read, which I love to read, I'll read them and I'll keep them around and refer to them on something. And the second bonus thing I've never done before, probably never will do again, I'm going to actually be speaking with you personally, privately, directly on Skype or phone, which is my time is very, very valuable. It's expensive for 30 minutes for the first 30 guys. So
You had to twist the publishing company's arm to let them let you do this.
yes, exactly. So I said, well, only 30 guys, so that's 15 hours. So that's what we're going to do. It's really going to be really, really helpful and valuable, like that kind of coaching and private interaction. So that's going to be a course valued at $397 plus $67 for the notes and $500 consultation for a total of $964. But like I said, you're not going to pay that. You're going to get the value that's probably going to shock you. But before I give you the price they've let me offer to you, I insist that everything we offer have a total satisfaction, 100% satisfaction, money back guarantee for any reason or no reason. The guarantee this will work for you. You have a full 60 days to try it all out. All the modules, 17 modules, the 7 partner activities, the 3 solo activities. I'm sorry, the 7 solo activities, the 3 partner activities. Get super raging sexual confidence, super sensitivity back. If it doesn't do that, or you just feel like you want your money back for any reason, you just send an email to Matt at getrapidhelp.com, or you could call us. We are there during business hours. We have a team of people there to assist you, 877-691-3328. Or you'll also have a private membership area. You can type in a message and anyway, there's 3 ways you get a complete 100% refund of every dime you paid. You're at absolutely no risk whatsoever. And if you've downloaded anything, you keep it. It's fine. It's my thank you for trying this out. We also want to assure you of 2 other things. We use military-grade encryption, and we guarantee your privacy, confidentiality. Your information will never be shared with anybody. So here's what you're getting: 2 workshops. So these are going to be just like workshops like this, very intense, very useful. 17 video modules in those workshops, underground notes bonus, and the 30-minute personal consultation for the first 30 people. Only the first 100 will get the underground notes. And if you want to take us up on our offer, you want to visit fixmyperformance.com. So you'll just go right now, you'll go to www.fixmyperformance.com. And I think while people are doing that, I didn't say the price, did I? Let me find out what it's going to cost. So you have this choice to make. You can go it alone by yourself. You could struggle. You'll be, or you'll be doing the solo activities step by step. The program is yours on a forever access basic. You'll attend 2 webinars, get access to 17 video trainings that'll come out of those webinars. You'll have forever access to that. You're going to have your male performance, your attraction to new levels. It's going to come out to about 4 hours of video, 17 in all, step by step to the entire sensitivity rebuilding process. No one else has this. No one else offers this. No one else knows about it. Fixes issues with getting and keeping erections better than any pills or supplements. Thousands and thousands of guys have used it. The first 100 will get my acclaimed underground notes. The first 30 will get a half an hour consultation privately with me. Pete said, I have no problem getting hard now and can have sex anytime my partner wants to. Okay, I think we said that one already. No, actually, that's a different one.
We just get this story a lot.
They do sound alike. We get so many of them. This was very embarrassing. I didn't realize it until I tried to have sex after my divorce. I used to take a pill, which was very expensive, worked a little bit. I haven't had to take a pill for almost 3 months now. I could perform again like I could 20 years ago. That came in, I remember the other day, but we get a lot. Every day we get these things rolling in. All right, so I want you to tell you right now what you'll have to do to get the program with the fast mover bonuses. Fixmyperformance.com. Go to fixmyperformance.com. You can either, I think they're offering you a payment plan, or you can just pay with it all at once. Up to you.
They're offering a good payment plan. I think it's under, last time I looked at the site, it was under the big order now button, like kind of like in small print. So if you need a payment plan, just check that out. It's definitely in there for you.
Okay. All right. I'm glad that they're doing that now, because I want to argue for a payment plan for a while. Mm-hmm. Let's take some questions that we had while we have people placing orders. If you have questions about anything we've talked about, let me know, and anything about anything, and we'll answer the best we can for you.
Sure. One of the questions, oh gosh, we're getting lots of questions in. The good question here. Last night I had sex with this girl and I could not come. Will you be showing me how to fix this on the training?
When you have sex and you can't come, It's like you grind away, as I like to think about it. You grind away, right? And it just doesn't happen. A lot of times, guys will be able to come when they think of their favorite fantasy or something in their head, and they can come. Some guys you can't do that. But regardless, that's all in the label. We call that delayed. They call it a delayed ejaculation, and it could be so delayed that it doesn't happen at all. A lot of times, when I suffered this problem, I couldn't come in my woman, but I could masturbate and come that way later on. And oftentimes I would. Either I would be in bed next to her and would masturbate to ejaculation to orgasm. She might help me, but I couldn't come when I was in her pussy. I just couldn't do it. And that's a common thing called delayed ejaculation. And it's gonna fix this problem completely and totally. It's one of the worst problems in a way, because a lot of guys are not realizing that this is actually a symptom of desensitization. So it's on the path to losing their erections, and they're like midway on that path. So it's a good alarm bell ringing for you to fix that problem, and we'll definitely be fixing that problem. Now, the other side of that is going to be the ejaculation too soon. But with the desensitization, you oftentimes will start out with delayed ejaculation, then you end up with prematurely, you just come really quickly. But with this solo activities that we're going to be showing you, you're going to fix the desensitization, so you're going to last a long time, and you're going to have this amazing feeling the whole time. And a lot of times you get to a point where you can sort of decide you're going to come. You can have her orgasms. So you still last a long time, but now it's your choice, not because you can't come, but because you don't want to come right, quite yet. And that is a whole different feeling, because your sensations are through the roof. It could be like, not quite like an orgasm, but it could be like 30 minutes of close to an orgasmic pleasure, and then you come. So you don't want that to end, so you don't come, till later. But that's your choice. We're going to show you that in this course.
Hmm. Um, Lewis is asking, how does this new program differ from Big Bang? It's a good question.
Yeah, Big Bang was it's a great course. This is a lot more detailed. We have more solo activities. We have a lot more things we found out since we did Big Bang, which is about a year now. And so this
Mm-hmm.
is like much, I think we've taken a lot of that makes Big Bang successful. We've taken the guys that have been successful and the guys that have quit, and we've looked at seeing like, what is it that makes the successful guys successful, and what has it made the people quit? And we put all those lessons into Raging Sexual Confidence.
Awesome. Another question from AR. I'm 59, yet I do not feel my age except for this desensitization issue. Will it be more difficult to recover normality? I think he's talking about because of his age.
Yeah. I don't really understand the issue with age. You mean because you're too old or too young, or what's the issue with age? What's the question? I don't understand.
I think he's saying, oh, that's a good question. I think he's saying that otherwise he feels really healthy except for desensitization. So do you think that recovery will be easy for him, hard for him, somewhere in
I don't
between?
know. Let me tell you some of the parameters for when it'll be more difficult and when it'll be easier. I'll just write this down, because that's actually a really, really good question that I'm going to answer in a more helpful way for other guys. So is it going to be easy, or is it going to be more difficult? And that, when I'm saying it, I mean, is recovering your full sensitivity, getting over all issues of ED, having raging sexual confidence, super sensitivity, being able to last 30 minutes or an hour, totally having like sex heaven, is that going to be easier, or is it difficult to get from where you are today? So I would say it depends. Some of the factors might be, if you use porn, it's going to be more difficult. Um, this is one area where it's going to be more difficult if you're really young. I'm going to put that in the difficult category, because if you're really young, your brain has got really wired to today's internet porn, and that's very much harder to overcome desensitization that's from the video porn. And a lot of guys just grew up on it, and they don't masturbate without porn, and that's very desensitizing. So porn is very desensitizing and makes it more difficult. If you're young, but 59 isn't really young, but it's not old either. What makes it more difficult is certainly if you have medical issues. If you're on SSRIs like Prozac, or the other anti-anxiety medications that are out there. And there are
Mm-hmm.
many. If you have high blood pressure, a little bit, some of the medications for high blood pressure are quite desensitizing. That goes away if you lower your dosage. Um, I would say those are things that make it more difficult. I don't think anything that you've said there, AR, would make it more difficult. And in terms of how long it could take, it could take a month, 2 months, 3 months. On the other hand, so what? If it takes 3 months and you get your sensitivity back and all these wonderful things are happening, you're going to feel 20 or 30 years younger in bed as well as everything else in your life. And I believe that that's the most important thing. I think that it makes you feel so young when you're in this. It makes your life so much better that you'll live a lot longer. You'll be calmer. There's a lot of evidence that this approach lowers blood pressure, that it speeds up the healing processes in your body, that it cuts down on internal inflammation that causes your arteries to get clogged and your heart to go bad. So this stuff is really, really good for you on a physical level. It'll make you younger, in my opinion. You know. So I don't know. That's a long
It
answer to the
does.
question, but
It does. Yeah. From a personal experience, it's brought my husband's blood pressure down. So
yeah,
incredible. Yeah, true.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Um, it does amazing things to health also.
It also has made him want to work out more. Weird side effect.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he probably builds muscle much more easily as well.
oh, he's
Um,
disgusting. He builds muscle so much more easily than me. It's just ah.
yeah, but and it brings the motivation back.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So the next question is, I'm 65. This is from D. I'm 65. I'm getting testosterone shots. Can this increase my testosterone so I might be able to stop getting the shots? And will it help with having more interest in sex? That's a huge question, isn't it? More interest in sex, better testosterone.
Yeah,
What's the answer to that?
I don't think it's going to affect testosterone like on a blood test at all. We have a whole testosterone program called T Rewind, Testosterone Rewind, which actually does raise testosterone through combination of lifestyle. But I think what this does is it does create the feeling of having a lot of testosterone. So maybe it does raise testosterone that way, but you'll feel super confident. You'll feel like a man who's very confident, looks women right in the eye, and you look men right in the eye. And when you walk in the market, like people like move out of your way. I swear that's
Hmm.
true. It just makes you super confident. The whole world loves a confident guy, like they look up to you and everything, and that must build testosterone in its own way. I know that that's the feeling that the guys always have, that their testosterone levels are through the roof. I don't think a blood test would show that, but it certainly seems that way because there's other hormones that work here. There's oxytocin and prolactin and vasopressin that are very important in this mix. So you don't have to worry about any of those, but this program evens them all out. It makes them all kind of work together. And as a result, your sex drive will be vastly, vastly, vastly bigger than it is now, vastly greater than it is now. You have a tremendously strong sex drive. Desire will be back to what it was. But here's what I want to say. After a few months, the brain takes a while to get over this desensitization. After a few months, the this like kind of painful horniness. Okay, that's how I would put it. That you might have felt when you were like 16 years old. That kind of like painful, like your balls almost ache. It's like you just really, really, really want sex. That's not there, but it's a much more balanced form of desire that you'll have that is tremendous to experience. And that gives you confidence with women like crazy. Yeah, I don't. Am I making this very clear? Does this sound like too woo woo right now, Heather?
Well, it's a little woo-woo, but I think it's clear.
There
What do
are
you
these
guys think?
hormones that will balance themselves out in your brain that create this raging sexual confidence, and that will build great desire. But it's not desire that's painful that you got to get rid of by masturbating or having intercourse right away. It's a lasting form of desire, and it'll cause you to want to have sex. The more sex you have, the more your desire will build. It actually builds and doesn't decrease. And it makes for a wonderful life when you feel this way, and it makes for a feeling of being able to take on the world, and women love that, and you'll have a much better relationship because of it.
Yep, absolutely will. All right, questions keep coming in, Matt. You still want to answer some more?
Yeah, right ahead.
Okay, fantastic. And guys, keep writing your questions in. I know, Matt, you're going to stay for at least a couple more minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is an interesting question from Mitch. This says, I have a limp noodle. I know you've referred to that sometimes in your emails. I've tried almost anything I could get my hands on, and nothing ever helps. Am I done?
um how old is the
Let me see. Let me see if he says. Since he's in his 70s now.
okay. um are we using a first name?
Uh,
Make one
Sorry, I
up.
thought. How about Andrew?
Andrew. Yeah, well, that's kind of like the end point of desensitization. If you don't do anything about it, it starts with a little bit of the loss of soft erections, more difficulty coming, and then it starts becoming like really hard to come. Erections aren't very good, hard to get an erection, going soft inside, not having an erection with partner sex at all, not having an erection for masturbation. That's kind of like the last stage of it. I should put that in a chart here, shouldn't I? But that's the last stage of it. However, it's totally reversible. The brain is a remarkable thing, and in some ways, you have a lot easier time of it than a much younger person because your brain still has the old wiring associated with partner sex and real vaginas, as opposed to not porn or sexual triggers you see in TV. And so a lot of times, an older guy will have things come back quicker than a real young guy who's grown up on high speed video porn. So you have that part going for you. So I wouldn't say you're done. In my opinion, you're not done till they're piling dirt on you. Um, in fact, and this works beautifully. And all you have to do is try it. You will find it works beautifully for you. Even if you're fortunate enough to have a partner, the very first module, you're going to learn how to have intercourse tonight. Even if as you said, your noodle is limp, will still work. And that works for everybody. So there's all kinds of things here, and like one thing works leads to another. You start getting more sexual, more confident, and maybe it'll end when you're 100, but it doesn't have to end in your 70s.
Right, right. Um, Here's an interesting question from Terrence. This was a little long, so bear with me here. I'm just going to read it. Matt, I have a very serious question for you. And the question is, what if a guy can't get an erection to have a little sex? Is that my problem or is it the girl's fault? I usually have no problem if I do it myself. Why do girls have the problem? Also, why do I go soft inside her? Am I enjoying it too much? I would appreciate some help on this problem. And
Yeah,
that's from Terrence.
that's a great question. I love that question, and I've actually studied that question deeply, and I think so. So I would say that it's absolutely not the man's fault if he's not having an erection. I would say that it's not anybody's fault. It's not a fault situation. It's just conditions aren't right for an erection. I like to think of an erection as like the penis is the third person in bed there. There's the man and the woman and the penis. And both you and she are going to see what the penis wants to do. It's going to do what it wants to do. When I say the penis, of course, it's the brain and the penis and the nerves and the chemical connections and all that. But basically, hey, is my dick going to get hard? It will or it won't. It's got a mind of its own, really, quite literally. It's not anything under any guy's conscious control. And a lot of times, the woman has a great deal of effect over whether we're going to get hard and stay hard. Huge amount of an effect. I don't mean that, oh, she's got a zit or she's not pretty enough and I can't get hard with her. Because actually, that's a lot less of an issue when you've overcome desensitization. It's not even an issue at all. You'll love all the women everywhere, but the woman can do things that by not focusing, by being very scattered, by making certain types of comments, by being kind of dead. In a lot of ways, she could kind of make an erection a lot more difficult to get and sustain than in normal circumstances. But what I have found, when you have this sexual confidence going for you, women don't generally respond that way. So the things that they would do to make an erection go away or be more difficult, maybe not consciously but unconsciously that they do, they don't do those things. They're much more focused in bed with you. It's an effect. It's like, so I know the more I focus, the more she focuses. And I never have that problem. And the guys that I've worked with don't have that problem anymore either.
Hmm. Um, Tom wrote in, I have diabetes. Will the solo activities help me?
Yeah, diabetes is a really common issue with a lot of guys that have taken our course before, and we're able to really work with them very, very well. So I have some recommendations for people with diabetes. Specifically, um, one of those recommendations is to absolutely pursue desensitization um, and solve that problem, because it will help your diabetes, your blood sugar. It'll help your blood vessels relax. It'll help your blood sugar normalize. There's a lot of science behind that. One of the things that our program does is increases hormones, including oxytocin, in your body and your brain. And oxytocin actually helps you control your blood sugar. Well, it helps your body. It's an amazingly strong hormone with regard to blood sugar. So I highly recommend this for people with diabetes. It actually has a physical effect on a lot of uh, chronic illness and will make you have an incredible sexual adventure out of it, and your diabetes might get a lot better. And second thing I would say is you might want to check out our T Rewind course, just because that's really focused on something that would help you recover from diabetes and raise your testosterone levels at the same time.
Hmm. Um, oh wow, lots more questions. Another question is, excuse me, Bill said, you mentioned earlier about Prozac making it harder. I'm on an antidepressant. Will this help?
Yeah, all of the antidepressants, the generally most of them, and I can't remember all their names. Does he say what he's on? Bill, do you say what you're on? Not that it matters. I can't remember all
Oh
their
no, he
names.
doesn't say. Mm.
Okay. Um, so all of the antidepressants, SSRIs, have the effect of making it harder to come, and they actually make the feelings of love or desire lessen. I mean, they just make it look like further away. Um, so they all have that effect. However, our program will definitely rebuild your sensitivity, and the resulting hormonal mix that changes in your brain will make it much less likely you need as much of a dose. And you want to talk to your psychiatrist, your doctor, about that. As you do this, you're going to feel a lot better, and the oxytocin is going to potentially replace some or all of the need for that antidepressant or anti-anxiety drug. It's a very, very amazingly real experience, how you feel more relaxed. Things don't affect you as much, all because of this raging sexual confidence, these hormones that sort of rebuild themselves in your brain.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And then let's see. Let's look at John's question next. John's asking how to get hard and stay hard. This is the crux of the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. And so, John, the thing you got to do is you got to stop ordinary masturbation, stop all the porn, and stop fantasy if you're using porn at all. If you're not using porn, you've got to, and people say, how do you stop fantasy? Well, we'll tell you how to do it in the course. It's very important because the brain sees fantasy as just as real as porn or anything else. So it seems real to the brain. And so the fantasy can perpetuate desensitization problems, which result in going soft and not being hard. So when you stop that, you go through this period where you're going to be uninterested in sex and your penis is going to seem like it's dead. You get past that period, you continue and you do these solo activities that we're going to give you and these partner activities if you're fortunate enough to have a partner. On the other side of this thing, you're going to have tremendously good erections just on practically whenever you need them on demand, and they're going to last and last. You're never going to go soft inside of women anymore, and you're never going to worry about your erections ever again. That's going to solve the entire problem, as it has for so many thousands of men. That's what you have in our course. That's what you're going to be doing. And the thing that we've done is we made it even easier, because these solo activities and these partner activities are going to make it much easier to get through this period as you reverse the desensitization and fix it all. And that's going to make you hard and stay hard.
Okay, Matt, I know that you want to get going soon, but can you stay on a little bit longer to answer a few
Yes,
more questions?
absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. All right, this is a really tough one, and it's very sad, but I know that a lot of men have been here, so since this man was brave enough to type it, I wanted to make sure that I asked it. And this is Henry writing in. He says, I have a hard time staying hard, Mr. Cook. Can you please help me? I don't know what else to do. I have even thought of taking my own life because of this issue. Please help.
Yeah. So I would recommend, Henry, this is a something that your doctors just probably don't really understand what's going on, and they, potentially think that, maybe and you sound very depressed and you have a lot of anxiety, and that is something that builds. It builds. If a man gets desensitized and his penis isn't working, the fundamental drive that's in his brain, about sex and love and confidence and everything, that fundamental part of his brain is like foiled, repressed, and it's very, very. Um, it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety, terrible anxiety, and depression out of it. And so, if we can fix that desensitization, I am sure that within even a few weeks, you're going to find a major difference in your mood, and you're going to feel a lot more upbeat about everything. And then over time, you continue with the program, and the erections are going to come back, and the whole issue is going to disappear as a problem. That's what I believe.
Hmm. William just asked another question I think is really interesting. He said, my wife is really critical of me. She's really fed up. I'm not sure what to do next, or even if I can overcome this with her or for myself.
I think that having a woman that's very critical and nagging, a lot of times we think to ourselves, if we had a different woman in a different situation, life would be a lot better. And maybe it would be. But oftentimes we take the problem that is sort of created by, believe it or not, a lot of the desensitization, a lot of that issue drives people apart. The next relationship initially would be very, very good because you're in this honeymoon period where you've just met a new woman and there's all these raging hormones. But a year or two down the line, you could end up with a lot of the same dynamics that you have right now with your current woman. Have you ever heard of that happening with your girlfriends, Heather?
Absolutely. You kind of get this repeating cycle going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we're going to break that cycle. We're going to break that cycle because when you do these solo activities and you start bringing back your sensitivity, reversing all the desensitization, you're going to become very, very sensitive, and your penis is going to start, not just your penis working, your brain, everything is going to be working a lot better and perceiving your woman differently. Her perceptions of you are going to change. And if you could get her to do the very simple partner activities, it's like the whole relationship will be entirely different. In a week or two, her hormone levels will have changed dramatically, and she will see you in a much more loving light than ever, maybe since you first met. Sex will become really, really good again. And the arguments and things that you're having now will disappear. It's very difficult to argue with somebody with any real significance when you both have this going for you, and you will. It just depends on being able to have her participate in the partner activities. We'll give you some ways of help, getting her to do that. And this works even for people that are on the verge of divorce. Even though you may decide you're not going to be together with her after a while. I mean, you didn't say that, but you might decide that, but you're not going to decide from a place of anger and rage and inability to do anything. You're going to both decide that it's best for you, and you're going to have a very loving relationship, even if you decide to part because of this. It's fantastic. This is the ultimate medicine for couples.
hmm Very good. Well, this is an interesting question. Lewis is asking, in addition to your program, are there audio programs such as hypnosis and brain entrainment that you'd recommend to help you avoid porn and reverse its harmful effects?
So, what would be the desired outcome for that?
Looks like if you have a porn addiction, or if you view a lot of porn or are finding it hard to stop,
Yes, yes.
is there any other resources that help you stop
Well,
that
right
you know
now, I
of?
highly recommend everything that's in our course. The solo activities and the partner activities change the underlying hormonal um, sensitization and mix in the brain and have a very, very powerful effect. We have also some very critical I would, if you want to call them self-hypnosis exercises, you can call that meditation, if you will, built into our course. And it's all on audio. I don't know if we said that, but we're going to have audios for everything as well. So you can just sit and listen. So we do some of these soul exercises are just, done, if you want to call it, by hypnosis. We have that built into our course. It's a very critical part of how it works.
Cool. Okay, this is an interesting question from Raj, and I think this reflects a lot of people when they first hear about this. He says, Matt, I really want to believe you, but it just seems so crazy. Does this really work?
Yeah, it is totally crazy. I never would have believed it. It just took me years to really believe. And the only way I really believed it is, first of all, I stumbled on this sort of very private, secretive group of guys who had figured a lot of this out. And they figured out the whole tie-in with porn and erectile dysfunction. They figured out how to get out of it, but um, they didn't figure out how to do it in a way that other than like stop masturbation, stop porn, do this, do that. And a lot of people were not successful with it. And so I found these solo activities and looked at all this research and all these people that were the small group that had figured out some of that and put that together in the original course. And it did work. It worked for everybody that tried it. The trouble was that people didn't stick to it. And it's not that nobody stuck to it. It's just that I would say not enough people stuck to it because the big obstacle was always getting over not masturbating. And the
Hmm.
program said, well, you can't masturbate for probably a couple months, even 3 or 4 months, even 6 months for some guys who really have significant problems, especially the young guys that have more problems with their brain than even the older guys do. And so a young guy telling a young guy with a lot of hormones pouring into his body that he can't masturbate, and let's say he doesn't have a partner, very difficult. I can't blame the guy for it not working out. But we figured out how to make it work for everybody now because now we have these solo activities that are actually more fun than masturbation, frankly, and they actually build your sensitivity and fix this problem. And I expect we're going to have a very high success rate and a very low rate of people dropping out. So it's always worked well, but it was too difficult, and now I think it's much easier and will work equally well or better.
Mm-hmm. Um, and then Remy's asking, he says, you mentioned a lot, I've heard you mention a couple times that there's a connection between the brain and the penis. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting. What I would say, you want to think about it like this. I'm a really good artist. I've been to a lot of
You get one
art.
of Matt's famous drawings today.
I've been to a lot
Woohoo!
of art exhibits. That's a penis, right? It looks like a penis. It doesn't look like my
Works.
penis, but it's a penis. Okay, and here's a brain. And this is what people don't get. What they don't get is that there are signals going back and forth. But the truth is, there's this network in the brain. There's these parts of the brain. One of these parts is called the NAS, and that's the neuroarticulation. I forget what it stands for. Um, I don't have my notes in front of me on that. But what that does, it basically filters out signals, nerve signals going to and from the penis. And so if a man has a desensitization issue, then the NAS filters out all these signals from the penis. It doesn't even feel an erection. It doesn't even feel the nerve endings of the tip of the penis. The penis might have 3,000 nerve endings, but the NAS basically interferes with the rest of the brain even picking up on those signals. Kind of like a person who's a real drinker might drink a quart of vodka a day or a liter of vodka a day, but if he stops having that vodka and dries out, he could have one drink or two drink and feel quite tipsy. And it's that way with this part of the brain. So the penis and the brain are in this communication, but there's these filtering mechanisms, and the filtering mechanisms become insensitive to the ordinary nerve signals coming from the penis. Now, it also goes the other way because the brain has all the kinds of hormones that build up in the brain, and it causes signals to go to the penis, and the penis responds to those signals. Some of those signals are from the brain, and some of those signals are, this is your spinal cord. Some of them go right to the spinal cord, some of them go from the brain. And those signals can basically wake up the penis, make the penis bigger, make the penis erect, fill up the penis with blood, make the penis feel much more sensation. The brain has tremendous control over the penis going to the penis. So the signals are a two-way communication circuit with the brain and the penis. And that's how we want to work with desensitization. It's primarily in the brain that we work, not in the penis. That's where the filtering is going on. That's where the lack of sensitivity is going on. And that's what we fix with these solo activities.
Right. So Matt, what you're saying is it's not usually the nerves in the penis that are the problem.
Very, very rarely is it the nerves in the penis. We've had guys who've had their prostate removed and the nerve was cut. And those guys may not be able to have an erection, but they probably can have an orgasm and they probably can feel tremendous sensation because the the sexual machinery is mainly in the brain, actually.
Right. And so there's like actual physical changes that go on when you do the solo activities and couple activities that affect how that works.
They're actually, these solo activities will feed the brain and reprogram the brain, but they also reprogram the penis and the testicles and the genitals in general, and they can actually create changes, physical changes in the genitals as well as going the other way and being the changes in the brain.
Right, right. That's
That's
very
amazing.
interesting.
We're in such awe of the way the human body works, and fundamentally, most people who are going to be in this area, this field, they all think of it in terms of supplements and diet and exercise and disease and pills. Those things are kind of important, but we're dealing here with the most basic machinery in the brain, the reproductive machinery, which goes all the way down to the reptile brain. It's so, so, so important. It almost trumps everything else. The sex drive is so powerful and strong. So that's why the desensitization affects so much of our life. It affects our anxiety and depression, our feelings of other people, our perceptions of the world, even our financial worth and our worth of our self worth. It affects everything so much. And that's why it's so important. And I love what we're doing here because we're helping these guys, not a matter of just getting our erections back, but getting their whole life back. It's everything. And I want you to have what I have in my life and what so many people have in their lives who have done this. I would tell you my whole life. If you knew how lucky I am in my life, I know it would probably seem like bragging, which is why I don't want to do it. And the only reason that I bring it up is because I've seen this with so many of my students as well who have gone through this, that their life becomes so rich and so wealthy as a result of this. Having sex every day for a half an hour or more, and having your wife seduce you, your wife who might have been a low drive woman who wasn't interested in sex before, it changes your whole life in the most amazing way possible. It's such a great adventure. You have no idea what is wonderful in store for you. And I've done this in such a way that they just go through it. It's proven it'll work for you. Try it out. I think it's 60 days, which is the amount they're giving you for the money back guarantee. You'll be able to make so much progress. I don't want you to lose out, and I'm really excited about getting to talk to you as well. Hopefully, you're one of the first 30 people. I really love talking to people, and that'll be totally confidential. Up to you. You're going to initiate that call. We'll set up an appointment if you want to, and we'll help you along, and you'll be more motivated, you'll be more excited, you'll keep on course, you'll find these solo activities so pleasurable and interesting. The whole thing will really be a light in your life, and when you get out on the other side, you're going to be a different person. You're going to be the man that you may not have been for decades, maybe ever. I'm so excited to have just a small part in that. With that, I think we're going to sign off here. Anything else that we should cover in the meantime? All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for everything else that you're being here. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate it so much. We'll take care. Talk to you soon. God bless.